Witness life, 6.8 million years ago. The birth of the first human tribe. 6,800,000 years ago. The Earth was a place of raw beauty and endless transformation. The wind swept across vast plains where ancient rivers carved deep paths through the land. Towering volcanoes breathed smoke into the sky, and the cries of strange creatures echoed through forests untouched by time. It was a wild world, ruled by instinct and survival. Yet somewhere in the heart of Africa, something was beginning to change. A spark had been lit. From the shadows of prehistory, the first hint of humanity was about to emerge. It began with a small and fragile creature known today as Sahelanthropus chidensis. It stood only a little over a meter tall, but within its eyes burned curiosity. It walked partly upright, using both hands and feet to move through the landscape. Though it could not speak or think as we do, its instincts carried the early traces of awareness. It was the first to look beyond the trees, to sense something larger in the world around it. This was the dawn of a journey that would one day define what it means to be human. These ancient beings lived close to water, where life was abundant. They gathered fruits, roots, and leaves, drank from rivers, and sometimes scavenged the remains left by predators. Danger was everywhere. The roar of saber-toothed cats and the thunder of giant beasts echoed through the plains. Yet, in the face of fear, something remarkable happened. They began to stay together, to move as a group. It was here that the first sense of community was born. Together, they were stronger. Together, they could survive. Over generations, this cooperation became the foundation of what would become the first human tribe. When one was hurt, others stayed close. When a predator threatened, they raised their voices together. These early acts of unity were more than instinct. They were the first expressions of empathy, the first understanding that survival was not only individual, it was shared. And so the tribe began, bound not by blood alone, but by connection and purpose. As time passed, evolution continued its slow and powerful work. From Sahelanthropus came Australopithecus, a being that walked upright with greater confidence. With free hands, they began to use objects around them, stones, bones, branches, to aid in survival. They cracked nuts, dug roots, and even shaped rocks into sharper edges. This was not yet civilization, but it was invention. For the first time, a creature on Earth used tools to shape its destiny. The world was harsh and unpredictable, but these early humans learned to adapt. They followed the herds, read the patterns of the seasons, and learned where to find safety. They began to recognize one another, not just as competitors for food, but as allies. Over countless generations, this sense of togetherness deepened. Small tribes formed, sharing not only resources but protection and warmth. In the flickering light of day, they learned to cooperate. In the silence of night, they gathered close for comfort. Humanity was taking its first breath. Then, one discovery changed everything. Fire. It began by accident, perhaps from lightning striking dry grass. At first, they feared it. Fire burned, destroyed, and consumed. But soon, they learned its secret. Fire gave warmth in the cold, light in the darkness, and protection from the beasts that hunted them. Around the fire, the tribe found something even more powerful: belonging. As they sat together, staring into the dancing flames, something awakened inside them. They began to dream, to imagine, to feel. Fire became not just a tool, but a symbol. It was the heart of the tribe, the first sacred light of humanity. Around those flames, they began to communicate. At first, through gestures and sounds. Then, through patterns and rhythm. These were the beginnings of language, the bridge that allowed them to share not only needs, but emotions and ideas. They began to teach one another, to pass down knowledge from parent to child. The tribe was no longer just a group of survivors. It was a living memory, a connection between past and future. As ages passed, humans evolved again. Homo habilis gave way to Homo erectus, taller, stronger, and wiser. They learned to hunt in groups, to build shelters, and to travel long distances. The tribe moved beyond survival into exploration. They followed rivers across continents, discovered new lands, and learned the ways of nature. Each generation built upon the wisdom of the last, and the flame of humanity grew brighter. But something even deeper began to form: spirit. They started to see meaning in the world around them. They looked at the stars, the sun, and the moon, and began to wonder. They painted on cave walls, leaving behind images of animals and symbols that spoke of life and mystery. These were not just decorations. They were expressions of the human soul. The tribe had begun to dream of eternity. In time, these small tribes spread across the earth. They adapted to every environment: the forests, the deserts, the frozen tundra. They learned to fish, to gather plants, to hunt with strategy and courage. They created tools with purpose, carved weapons with precision, and discovered how to make fire at will. Each new discovery strengthened the bond between them. Together, they learned that unity meant survival, and survival meant progress. The tribe became a mirror of humanity itself, imperfect, yet extraordinary. Within it were love and fear, joy and sorrow, courage and loss. Every member mattered, for each had a role to play. Some hunted, some gathered, some nurtured the young. Together, they built the foundation of human society, the idea that we are strongest when we stand as one. And then came Homo sapiens, modern humans. They looked to the world not just as a place to live, but as a mystery to understand. Their minds reached beyond survival. They created music, language, and art. They built the first communities, where firelight became the center of story and song. They buried their dead, honoring life and memory. They imagined gods, spirits, and purpose. The tribe had become something eternal, the beginning of civilization. When we look back across the vast ocean of time, it is easy to forget that every step we take today began with them. Every idea, every dream, every act of love we know is part of the legacy they left behind. The courage of the first tribe lives in us still. Their fire burns in our hearts. Their curiosity moves our minds, and their unity inspires our spirit. We are their descendants, carrying forward the light they first discovered in the dark. The journey of humanity did not begin with cities or technology. It began with connection, with shared purpose, with a small tribe gathered under the stars, dreaming of a world they could not yet imagine. That tribe still lives within us. Every time we reach out to help another, every time we create, explore, or dream, we honor them. The story of humanity is not about separation. It is about unity. It is about the unbroken chain that began in the heart of Africa and continues through every heartbeat today. So when you look at the world around you, remember the first tribe. Remember the fire that brought warmth and hope to a world of shadows. Remember that within you burns the same flame that once flickered in the eyes of those who first looked beyond the horizon. If this story moved you, take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel. Together, we keep alive the fire of discovery, imagination, and connection. The same fire that began nearly 7 million years ago with the birth of the first human tribe.